Hey everyone, thank you for joining today's workshop. The topic is adapting to win. We are here today with a special guest. So I am Erin Lizzo from the Duda account management team. I'm the strategic account manager, and we're super excited to, for the first time ever, have Mr. Shane Hodge on a Duda workshop with us. Shane is the CEO at the Camel. Many of you are familiar with him from the Facebook group, and he's been helping our agency partners with various things, all Duda related.
Wow. Thank you, Erin. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. All right, let's move into the agenda and see what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Cool. So as we mentioned, today the topic is adapting to win. So, we know that we are in times that are fairly different than where we were 3 months ago. So our conversation today, we're going to focus around what is the new normal. We're seeing and thinking that this is not necessarily a temporary shift. We're seeing behaviors that we believe will be carried out for the long term, and that will really require adjustment in the way that you guys think about your business, your marketing, your customers, and how you deliver the product. We're going to talk about selling a story. So what is the story that you're selling now, and how is that different than it was a few months ago? And then we're also going to talk about different methods on expanding your business. Like I said, Shane has a lot of great direct experience working with our agency partners, and he's going to be a valuable resource on this workshop. I also want to mention that we're going to be doing a question and answer session at the end of the workshop. We'll have plenty of time for that. But if you'd like to submit your questions ahead of time, you can do so just right in the GoToMeeting chat box.
Very good introduction, Erin.
All right, so let's start by talking about the new normal. What does this mean exactly? So I want to just start by asking you, Shane. I know when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that you guys had to adjust the Camel incredibly quickly. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
It was crazy. It was, I love that term, panic station zebra. We had our end of year party on the Saturday, and it was announced midway through the party that the lockdown would start in 15 hours. So if you could imagine, the Camel's got 85 people. We got our building and we got everyone there, and we had 15 hours to become a home-based business where we had to move all these kids home, make sure they had internet, and it was just insane. Because on the Monday morning, we've got to start building, X amount of sites per day and widgets and getting on Facebook. So it was crazy. 15 hours notice, that was it. The joint was shuttered.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds very similar to a lot of what, our clients have been sharing with their experience as well, of having to really adjust their business incredibly quickly and, finding the resources to do that. So
it was insane.
Yeah. What I want to ask you, during the first couple of weeks after the shutdown, what were the conversations like with your clients?
Basically, you can go by what happened a lot on Facebook, because the Facebook community is pretty, it's instant. And what you notice immediately was what I call the first evolution, right, of COVID. And that first evolution was pure panic. And because nobody knows, this has never been done before. And everyone, the first evolution was online ordering. Every single customer out there with a restaurant, with a place that sold anything, all of a sudden they had to have the ability to take orders online, and there was this mad scramble among all the community. How do we get online? How do we get online? And you've got all these customers screaming out, and even ourselves, a lot of the major agents we had, you know, like we've got one that's got, I don't know, 5,000 websites or something, and they've got all their customers calling and saying, hey, we've got to be online, we've got to be online. So that was the first evolution, was panic.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened after that was, how do I get e-commerce going? Everyone wanted to be Amazon.com.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very similar to the conversations that we had been hearing as well. And it makes a lot of sense. Clients that maybe initially were sort of on the fence about opening up e-commerce, they had very little time to get that up and running.
Yep, it was crazy. I mean, again, you know, we had 15 hours, but so did everyone else. And, you know, all of a sudden, they've got to be able to deal with their customers, and they didn't know how, because you had a group that was already into e-commerce or was already planning e-commerce. So it was like, oh, okay, we'll push the button now. But then you had the butcher, baker, candlestick maker who had no idea about e-commerce, no idea about online ordering. And all of a sudden, you know, he's calling the first responders, his agency, and saying, what do I do? So that was the first gig.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I shared the story with you, and I really like the story about the restaurant in Boulder, Colorado, where I live, that really quickly realized that they couldn't bring customers in anymore, but they still had access to the supply chain that wasn't necessarily available to everyone. So they quickly shifted their business into a community pantry. So they started selling staples like butter and eggs and flour, which were actually like very short in demand in the grocery stores. So I think it's cool to talk about how habits are shifting and how people are quickly reacting and finding, you know, these new areas of need within their own existing businesses.
Yeah, I think that the initial evolution, which was panic, what that had to, that was only short term. You know, all you were basically doing is that the dam had a crack in it and the water was starting to drip out. So you better put something on it. And that's what they did with the online ordering. But then they had to look at, like what you said, well, how are we going to keep going, but how are we going to expand our business? What are we going to do? So you had a lot of restaurants that were so geared up for people walking inside and hey, welcome, thanks very much, come and sit at your table. Well, there's no more sitting at your table. What are we going to do?
Right.
So those people had to start getting involved in packaging things up, getting involved in takeaway. Those people had never answered a call and taken an order. My favorite one is my little vape shop, right? Those guys, you know, every day you'd walk into their shop and it'd be like smoke everywhere and 100 customers all buying vape juice. All of a sudden his business was shuttered. And he was so reliant on a community type customer. And all of a sudden he's got to find out, well, how am I going to deliver, right? And this guy quickly had to get a landing page up. He quickly had to organise with Panda. And that was the only way he survived. So, you know, no choice. Again, bit of panic, but it became a little bit more organised panic.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, you know, we're talking about how this might not be short-term behavior. You know, eventually at some point, things will go back to, you know, what we could call normal, the way things were. People will be able to go into the shops, into the restaurants, sit in the park together. But right now things are shifting, and, you know, we're thinking that this behavior will be long-term, not short-term. The way people are interacting online, selling online, using a website.
It's, I think you'd be foolish to think that it's going to go back, because first of all, the next realisation will be a lot of places are not going to open, right? That once people start walking around. But you've also got with this, you've got the fear factor that I know where we are in the Philippines, 50% of the population is allowed to go back to work, but very few are going back because they're still frightened. And, you know, the restaurants how can you do business if you can only have 10 people sitting there? All right. So the new normal is face the reality, and the reality is until probably they get a vaccine, this is the way it's going to be. And people have actually got used to home base. People have got, I mean, the increase in home deliveries is like hundreds and hundreds of percent, you know, the e-commerce side. So what you've got is all of a sudden the business has to have a flow that is, well, no one's going to come and visit my shop anymore. No one's going to come and visit my restaurant anymore. Everything we do must be a flow of, we've got to go to them, or we've got to create an app. Like there was one restaurant in San Diego that obviously they couldn't allow people to come inside their restaurant anymore, but they had a massive car park. So they decided to run a promotion on car park picnics, you know, because there was allowed to be 5 people in a car. And these, all of a sudden, they filled up the car park, but it's short term. You know, it's a gimmick. So that's the thing that people have got to get used to, that what we did with online ordering, with e-commerce, with that was short term. What you've got to look at now is, what is your long-term plan for your website, for your marketing, for your digital experience that will keep you going through this, because it's going to be a long time. You know, regardless of what anyone says, that everyone's habits have changed. It only takes 21 days to form a habit. We've been locked down longer than that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So there's big changes. And as I said to you the other day, the great thing is, a lot of the things you could do, it's very easy to do within the Duda platform.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, let's move on to selling a story. So I'm going to start this one off by talking a little bit about a cool story that I have. So my aunt owns a horse ranch out in Arizona. She's got 40 acres, and it's her main business is bringing, you know, riders in to stay at her ranch and board their horses and ride the trails out there. And she's got tons of space. People are totally spread out, and she's booked year round. But, you know, as soon as, you know, COVID really hit and people started to lock down, she lost 100% of her reservations on Airbnb and VRBO. But what she did was she updated her website. She renamed herself a socially distant eco ranch. And
I love that.
within a week, 100% of her bookings came back. So I think that's a cool example of, think about your business from a different lens and see how you can really sell that story and connect with your customers based on where they are today, not where they were 4 months ago.
No, that's the secret. You know, you can't look behind anymore, because that doesn't exist. And you can't get on to Google and type in, how do I change my business during a global pandemic when everyone's going broke and I'm looking? You can't do that. All right, what you've got to do is sit back and go, I have to reinvent my story. You know, that I love that eco ranch. And I look at one little hairdresser that, you know, all of a sudden she can't cut hair anymore. She can't dye hair anymore. What is she going to do? She had a magnificent customer base. She had all their information. And then what she did was she looked at things like colouring of their hair, and she created all these packages that had the right amount of colouring, had the information they needed. She did a little video thing, and she packaged it all up, and then she used her database to market to all those customers, and that allowed her to get through. You know, you've got butchers that all of a sudden no one's allowed into their little community stall anymore to view at the beautiful lamb chops. What are you going to do? And this guy, he got his website, he put the online ordering there, he put YouTube videos on his happy smiling face, and he put together meal packages, cuts of meat, herbs and spices, instructions on how to make a particular beef vindaloo, all right? And that's how all of a sudden people could come to his store, knock on the door, pick up the stuff, or they could get a Panda delivery. So they started to think, how can we still market to these customers? But the biggest changes you'll see are in the actual websites themselves, because that's the new normal is your website cannot be normal. The new normal that you have to start gathering data and information on your clients. The new normal, you have to start promoting a lot more than what you did before. So the website now is a lot different than what it was 3 months ago.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, and we've said this before, but really, you have to adapt. If somebody goes to a website right now and it hasn't been updated in a month or a couple of months, you know, you might assume that business is no longer around.
It's not.
Yeah. It's really important to just remain current with that, with the updates and your messaging.
And the other thing is, again, I go back to the flow. Okay. You know, everyone talks about, like, when you build a DIY site, the most important thing is the flow. But now your website itself, the flow, because you no longer, and for a long time, you're not going to be able to have someone going, oh, that looks marvelous, as they look at your shop front, and then they open the door and your happy, smiling face, hey, welcome, have a look around. Your website is now that, where it was just a first web impression, it's the first impression of your business. So the flow of your website, it can no longer be a pretty picture and 2 call to action buttons and then going on with a bunch of waffle. What it has to be, it has to flow like someone is actually walking into your store. And you've got to sit back and, pardon me, you've got to say, how would I treat them when they come into my store? And that's what your website has to do, along with your social media and everything else, which is, even the social media things change, because people that were scared of that, they better ante up and start to love it. But you've got to embrace the flow of your website. The other thing that we said is e-commerce. E-commerce is not just for those with 200, 300, 400 products. Now e-commerce is for people with 10, 15 products. But the other advantage you got with Duda, you can use dynamic content. You can use that, so they don't necessarily have to have e-commerce. You can turn and give that ability, bit of a flog here with one of our widgets, that you can make a product store using features that are with Duda as long as you're an agency, all right? You've got to look at video. You've got to look at how can you really attract them to this website like they would when they're walking past your store. But as you said also, it's the constant updating. You know, for far too long, people would make a website and they'd leave it for 6 months, 12 months. That's okay. You know, they'll come and visit us, they'll call it. Well, that's not going to cut it anymore, because Harry Customer is getting on Google, but he's also classing your website as his information page now. He's going to go there like he does Facebook, and what are the updates? What are the specials? What information is coming to me? So the website has to change all the time, which is a great opportunity for revenue for the agencies out there, because you can put together packages that are going to update, are going to put promotions up there, because that's the web now. It's your first in web impression, it's your customer attraction, it's your meet and greet, it's your book and buy, it's everything. And
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that, you know, on top of that, the end user is going to a website to feel comforted, right? So they want to go to your business page and know exactly how they're going to work with that specific business. For example, one of my clients builds sites for realtors. And so this is obviously very hard hitting well, I don't know if it is hard hitting. our market hasn't slowed down, but it changes the process for sure. From a very conversational in-person occupation to now, you know, it's very restricted in that way. And so now what this agency has done, they've come up with a very user-friendly process that's just right on their homepage. It's a pop-up. It's a cool cartoon that shows exactly how you might buy a house in these times. And I love this because it's relevant beyond what we're going to be experiencing with COVID. For a first-time home buyer or for somebody who doesn't have a lot of knowledge or experience in that space, they immediately understand the journey from looking at a home to purchasing a home, and they can feel comfortable and confident. And so I think that's such an opportunity to think about, you know, when we talk about expanding your business, different ways to, you know, to communicate that message.
I think it's, we got taught a thing many, many years ago called a road to a sale. And, you know, there was steps, and it was meet and greet, qualification, presentation, demonstration, overcome objections, close. All right. So usually that meet and greet is if somebody walks into your store or they walk into an open house, like even open house now, those real estate guys are really going to have to look into getting not just a pretty picture of the house and it's got 5 bedrooms, this. They're going to have to get more into presenting the house on their website, because people are too frightened to go out there among 20 other people or making a booking and sitting in the car till it's safe to go inside. So your qualification, your initial meet and greet, your website has to do that. It didn't have to do that before. It just needed a pretty picture, some text, and away you go. Now it's got a flow. You used to make those people feel comfortable when they walked into your business, on your shopping lot, looking at a used car. Car salesmen are going to have to start doing videos presenting what they've got. That's the biggest change. So I think also as the agencies, even the way they sell, has to change, because they're going to have to become Eddie the experts at this new customer flow, even before we get into all the other stuff of how you're going to do marketing, how you're going to handle databases. They have to change the way they sell.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the different tools that you've been recommending as different things that agencies can do within Duda to help shift and expand their business right now?
My favorite is, again, the online promotion is going to be critical. E-commerce is going to be critical. We have built an awesome amount of what we call e-stalls, which are places that have got, you know, 10 products or less. My favorite story that's happened on 10 products or less, it was in Malaysia, but it's a good example. People that sell seafood. So these guys would normally turn up with their boat. You'd go to the fish market and you'd buy your prawns or your calamari or your tuna, whatever. And in January, there was not one online seller of seafood in Kuala Lumpur. By April, there was 1,000 online sellers. And all these guys were selling 10 items or less and using Panda or themselves to deliver it. So that's a pretty massive change. So we've seen a growth, not in the major product e-commerce, because those people were looking at it before, they just accelerated it. We've seen a major use of e-com in smaller places, okay? People that were selling plants, all of a sudden now they're selling plants on e-commerce. People were selling vapes, people who were selling meat, seafood. So that's the number one thing. Next, online booking systems, crazy. If you haven't got one, you've got no hope, all right? Online ordering, again, with e-commerce. But my biggest thing we've seen a change in is because of the need of promotion. Duda has a feature, customization, I think it's called customization, which allows you to have a pop-up which every website can do. But the difference is with the Duda pop-up, you can make this incredibly sexy graphic that then you can program it. And again, it's like what we said before, this has got to be more personalized than normal. So you can have this pop-up that's a great graphic that very easily you can say, what are we going to say to our new customers? What are we going to say to our returning customers? What are we going to offer our old customers? What are we going to offer the guys on iPad, on Android? What are we going to offer these people on where they're living? What are we going to offer? And that's been a feature I've flogged to death because I love it, but it's not really been taken up by a lot of the pros. But that's going to be a game changer because people will need these promotional change, not once every month or once every 3 months. They're going to need them changed daily, weekly, because people are not going to walk past your business like they used to. They're going to go to your website and say, what's changed? And all of a sudden, this pop-up will come up and away you go. So that's one of my favorite features. And, you know, dynamic content and just that ability to databases, call to action, linking to information gathering machines, because the information you get on your clients, everyone probably did it, but now they've got to realize the importance that information is absolute gold to continually market to these people. The more you know, the more you'll be able to sell. And your website is going to be the vehicle, but it's also going to be the customer's destination, not just Facebook, the website. And they're the biggest changes we've seen.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. So back to personalization rules, which is the pop-up and being able to add a banner to the top of the page. I think we mentioned this before, but there's not one website really that is still is still an active business that doesn't have some sort of notification up at the top. And we're starting to see that these aren't even directly calling out COVID. We're really beyond that point now. They're calling out the behavior. So it's more like, you know, this is how you can access us. This is how you can order from us. This is how, you know, we're performing these services as things have started shifting. So I really like what you said about updating that messaging frequently. I think that's totally key here. I think another really important point that I want to make sure that everyone takes note of is the role of the agency changing. I think that's really something that we talked about earlier. It's incredibly impactful that, you know, you're not just simply, you know, designing a site now. You're talking about marketing strategy in, you know, current day with the behavior of consumers at this point.
Oh, it's crazy. It's because these people are lost, right? And they're out there, they trust you, right, to build their website. They're usually asking you questions like, well, how can that be prettier? How can that grab more attention? And they're asking about call to action. Now they're actually asking, what can I do to grab these customers? What can I do to consistently market to them? So the mindset of the agency, you know, for the guys out there that have been selling a 3-5 page website that you can use a Duda template, you can drag and drop and get your $500 and your $100 a month, they've got to start doing a mind shift. And they've got to look into how can I do more with Duda features. So they've got to get into customization, and they're very simple to make, or you can get someone like us or one of the other guys to make real graphical type promotions. But they've also got to start looking at the customer's going to have really strong local SEO questions. They're going to have big, what would you promote? How do I make, you know, it's okay for you to say that my website has now got to be my road to a sale. How do I make it look that way? How do I put a video up here? So that I use that term frontliners, well, in a way that we are now marketing frontliners, and we are more consultants rather than just sellers of websites. It's a big business change, but it's an incredible revenue gathering opportunity. And so, like, I'm excited, you know, because I'm a marketer. you know. But so for all those guys out there, just recommend, look at white label solutions. Look at, you know, talk to people like Eric and Erin and find out all the things that, you know, can integrate and work so well with Duda. You know, not just e-com, but get into personalization. Have a look at how can we do that. Get more into video. And it's a big change.
Yeah, I think those are all wonderful points. So yeah, before we jump into the Q&A,
I got COVID, I think. I'm coughing.
I think it might be the vaping.
Don't tell anyone.
So yeah, so guys, before we move into the Q&A, I just want to remind everyone who's taken the time to watch this workshop, here at Duda, and I'm sure Shane could say the same for the Camel, we are so we're so encouraged and proud of the work that you guys are doing as you're adapting with these clients. We know that it's been fast, and a lot of people have had had spent long hours updating sites, working with clients who have been stressed out. But the work that we've seen come through this from you all has been so encouraging, and it's just incredible to see what has come out of this, the creativity, the entrepreneurship, and we really hope that you guys will continue to think of all of these different ways to really expand your business and connect with your clients.
Yeah. You know, Erin, one of the things I love about Duda is the community, and I just loved it the first few weeks. You know, I really mean it, that a lot of these agencies were first responders, because these businesses were in serious trouble. They had their families to worry about, they had buildings and rent they got to pay, and the agencies, well done, guys, because, you know, you just jumped in there. And the other thing is, we helped each other. You know, that I've never seen the cooperation. You know, you've got people like, you know, Amanda File, right, who's a crazy person on the community page, offering as much help as they can. You know, and I had our whole team where we said, look, these people need help. Let's just help. And, you know, I know we did our COVID-19 widget, and we just built it for free, and we just put it out there so, you know, people could have it. But the agencies, take my hat off to you guys and gals, because you were just tremendous. But not only with your clients, but the way you cooperated with the community was awesome. So bravo. Well done.
Absolutely. Cool.
Champions.
All right, so we've got some time for Q&A here. So if you've got questions, then please drop them into the chat. So far, we just have one, and it's for you, Shane. So I think you'll be able to answer this one, though. So I've seen some installs and widgets on Camel. We're an agency account, so we don't have unlimited access to API. Can an agency account get widgets that were built on an enterprise level? So I think the question here is, can any agency have access to any widget that you guys have built?
They can have access to any widget that doesn't need the API, because you only get API with enterprise.
So you have limited access with agencies.
Yeah, like if they want the Duda API DIY thingy, right? That's an enterprise thing. But the majority of our widgets are okay on agency, because they've got the widget builder, and you need the widget builder to be able to do it. But I know something, but I'm going to shut up. I won't say what Duda's doing. I won't say.
Well, I will, actually. I'll say what Duda's doing. Yeah, so we have I'm trying to find the link to it, but if you just go on the Duda website, just duda.co, then you can, actually it's just /COVID/19. You'll see all of the tools that Duda has accumulated right now to help our partners thrive at this time. So there's everything from e-commerce to white label resources. We recently added a Zoom widget. That was one of the first things that we did. when all this happened, because we all know how much we've been on Zoom lately. So I'd encourage you, we have a lot of apps right now in the Duda App Store that are offering free trials, like really pretty extended free trials. So it's a good opportunity to see what's in there, see if there's something that would be beneficial to your clients, and then present that. Yeah.
I forgot about Zoom. I mean, Zoom has become the new presentation tool. You know, I mean,
It really
it's crazy, and you can present to the entire Brady Bunch on your screen. You know, when people say, I've got to talk with my wife or my husband, get them on the Zoom. We'll close them on the spot. And you can share your screen, so you can say, hey, while we're here, let's do the changes while we're here and get this thing done. Greatest sales tool of all time, Zoom, love it.
Yes, for sure. Okay, Shane, we've got one more question for you. If you buy a widget from the Camel, can you use it on all of your sites, or is it just on one site? Do you have to pay per site for that widget?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you the great news. With the Camel widget, buy one, use it on every single site. Yeah, knock yourself out. If you go out there and sell 100,000 sites, you can use that $45 widget, $100 widget, whatever they are. You just buy it, and then you just use it on every single site you've got. It's the greatest deal of all time. That's why I don't drive a Porsche.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks for answering that question. Yeah, I think, let's see, we've got one more, and then let's see. What strategy would you suggest to convince customers to migrate monthly payments once they believe they don't need to rent, if they can? We might have to come back to that one. This one's not making a ton of sense to me. I think the question really is, how do you convince clients to do monthly payments, recurring payments, versus just like an annual payment?
Well, I mean, it's what, I don't know what it is. It for their website thing?
I think I can take this one if I interpreted that correctly. I'm not sure that I did, but really, Duda gives you the ability to purchase a site either monthly or annual. That doesn't mean that you need to sell it to your clients that way. So if you're buying all annual sites and there's like a little discount with that, you can still charge your clients a recurring monthly fee. That's totally up to you. And that's actually, it can help your business model.
Yeah, it's value for money too. I mean, it's, you know, you see it, everyone charges a monthly fee, and this is the opportunity you've got here now. If you're going to charge them, you know, $500 to build a website, and then you're going to charge them $150 a month. Well, what are you going to give them for the $150 a month? That package now is more important than anything. The way I'd be doing it, I'm looking at, okay, I've got to pay Duda $15 and I've got to pay, you know, $20 to work on maintenance. But then I'd be looking at a monthly marketing fee, because that's where the juice is going to start flowing on these things. That look at a monthly subscription that's $150 that's going to include a customization option once or twice a month. That's the sort of monthly subscription they should be looking at. Unlimited edits and changes. So you're really pushing the client to update that website, change that website, promote on that website, and that's going to give you $150, $200, $300 a month, because they see the value. But you see a lot of guys, and you know, they're charging $99 a month for what? For a hosting fee. Then you'll get into the, but I can do it for GoDaddy for $1 argument.
Yep. Okay, so I think this is a good question to end on here. What type of inspiration can Shane offer to encourage us small guys that are losing hope with our agencies growing? I think that's a good way to sort of end this on a positive note.
Good point. It's I think everyone's got to, you know, I love the community, and you see the guys in there that are really struggling. nowadays. It gets me a bit emotional. But if I look at it, guys, you know, the Camel's got 85 people now. But when we first started, there was only my wife and myself. And I used to lay on the concrete out the front of my house because that's the only place I could get a signal, right? And I'd do conference calls and I'd do calls without laying on the ground so I could have a chat. And slowly but surely we built it until the point where we are today. So my greatest advice I can give you is get out there. In this case, you're going to have to get on the phone or you're going to have to get on to Zoom. Just talk to as many people as you possibly can. And remember, they're buying you. So polish that you. Get your website with, you know, there is a couple of guys in Australia who are not the most, they're not the youngest, but I tell you, they've got YouTube videos on their website and they are sitting there flogging their agency to all these customers. They're selling themselves more than ever now. You have to be that person that a business is comfortable with. You're going to help them out of trouble. You're going to guide them to see the mountaintop. So the most important thing, don't worry about how sexy your websites are or you're not a really good designer. Worry about you. So get your website around you being the expert, you being the comfort zone, right, for these people to come and entrust you. So get yourself on video. Read up as much as you can on, you know, you can look at all my blogs will tell you how to sell Duda websites, and there's so many stories there. Focus on you, and the rest will come.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much, Shane, for joining us today, for being such a wonderful supporter of Duda. We appreciate everything that you do, and let's keep up the good work together.
Hey, Erin, I love you. And for everyone in the background and for all the community that's listening now and listen in the future, I love you guys. We're always here for you, as Duda's always here for you. And just get out there and sell you and customization, right? Because it's going to be super, super important. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See ya.